is on Sportsnet. Presented by the all-new Honda Civic, now available with Turbo, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Welcome to San Francisco. That is a great shot of AT&T Park. The ballpark opened in 2000. You see all the boats out in McCovey Cove. And the Blue Jays are playing outdoor baseball for the first time in 16 games. Every one of them came out and stood outside. They got their jackets on, they got their toques on, but they're thrilled to be outdoors.
Yeah, they were able to go and touch the grass and feel the grass. They said it was beautiful to see the sun shining while they were taking batting practice today. Yeah, you're right. They've got the toques on and they got the overcoats and everything like that. It'll be chilly tonight, but they're outside, and every one of them very happy to be outside.
The Giants have sold out the ballpark. 426 consecutive sellouts. It's going to be another sellout tonight. Aaron Sanchez from Barstow, California, in Southern Cal, will make his first start here in San Francisco. Let's take a look at the Blue Jays lineup for John Gibbons. They've slipped the game under 500. Kevin Pillar, for his young career, batting .313 in interleague play with 30 hits and 96 at-bats, including 10 extra base hits. And Troy Tulowitzki, the former Colorado Rocky. He's seen Jake Peavy before. 7 for 21 for Tulowitzki. 3 extra base hits and 3 RBIs, and hopefully a familiar spot will help Tulowitzki get that timing down a little bit.
Yeah, and I like how they have Michael Saunders in that number 5 spot in the lineup to hit behind Edwin Encarnacion, break up all those right-handers. He's a guy who can hit with runners in scoring position. He can start driving in more runs. Michael's only driven in 9 runs this year. He's hitting .289, but he's only driven in 9 runs. John Gibbons trying to jumpstart this lineup a little bit, putting Saunders down in an RBI position.
Yeah, you put him behind Edwin Encarnacion, maybe he'll get a few more pitches to hit. The veteran Jake Peavy having a bit of a rough go of it lately. He is all set to take on the Blue Jays, and Peavy, a former Cy Young Award winner, Gold Glover, and a 3-time All-Star, has really had a tough stretch of pitching lately.
He has really struggled to get his 2016 season on track. His ERA, look at it, at 9. He's 1-3 with a 9 ERA. It's the highest of his career through the first 6 games of any of his 15 big league seasons. He will turn 35 at the end of this month. You mentioned he's an All-Star, Cy Young Award winner in 2007. He also won the Triple Crown that year in 2007 for pitching. 19 wins, a .254 run average, and 240 strikeouts. He's 3-2 in 8 career starts versus the Blue Jays, but this is a different pitcher than the one they saw a few years ago, Jake Peavy. He doesn't have that good arm strength that we have seen in the past. He can't really spin the ball like he used to. He's averaging 2 base runners an inning, so the Blue Jays have to take advantage of that tonight.
Take a look at the defense behind Jake Peavy in the outfield. Gregor Blanco, Denard Span, the former Minnesota Twin and National, is in center, and Hunter Pence is in right. It's a big, spacious outfield. Matt Duffy's in third base. Brandon Crawford and Joe Panik up the middle. Brandon Belt, fine young first baseman, manning the first base bag, and then Jake Peavy and Trevor Brown. Brown will make the start tonight.
Yeah, Buster Posey caught 181 pitches and 13 innings on Saturday, and then he caught 9 innings yesterday. So Trevor Brown will get his 9th start as the catcher. He was an infielder in college, caught a little bit in college, but the pitchers love throwing to him. He is going to back up Buster Posey so they don't wear down the former MVP.
Buster Posey himself was an infielder in college at Florida State. He's become a terrific all-star catcher. So Kevin Pillar hitting leadoff. He's had hits in 13 of his last 15 games, so they put his red-hot bat top of the order. Peavy is set. Pillar's in the box on a gorgeous night in San Francisco, and here's the first pitch of the ball game. It is downstairs for a ball, and we are underway. Pillar, 301 for the season, a pair of home runs, 13 RBIs. He also has 11 doubles.
Boy, he just looks comfortable at the plate. His swing is short. He is picking up the ball early out of that pitcher's hand, and he has been on everything over the last week or so.
Just had 2 at-bats against Peavy. He's 0 for 2 in those at-bats. Fly ball to right. Hunter Pence coming in. The wind's blowing in a bit from right, and that knocked it back toward the infield. 1 up, 1 down for Peavy.
Well, Peavy says his problem has not been his stuff. He says his stuff has been good. He said he's been lacking execution with his pitches. And in the opening, if you saw the home runs he gave up, you can see his execution was very poor. The spin doesn't have a good break on it. He's been hanging a lot of pitches and been giving up a lot of home runs.
6 home runs on the season, including that 4-homer game last time out. Josh Donaldson, he has cooled off some lately. He gets a good pitch to hit right down the middle and fouls it back. Donaldson average at .268. But he's got 18 extra base hits and 21 RBIs. Inside.
When Jake Peavy was winning Cy Youngs and was an all-star, his fastball was 94, 95, sometimes 96 miles an hour with a great slider. You can see those last fastballs, they were just 90 miles an hour. He is going to have to take a little off, put a little on, maybe pitch backwards at times in fastball situations, throw breaking balls and vice versa to be effective.
See, the catcher's got paint on his fingers and he's got fluorescent fingernails, all kinds of things working to help Jake Peavy. Peavy has vision problems, and without contacts and glasses, he's close to being legally blind. He's got to wear contacts, so the catcher's trying to help him out. Jake's a tremendous competitor. I had the pleasure of managing him during the WBC in 2006. A very intense competitor.
Oh, you see that every time he takes the mound. He'll yell in his glove when he's not executing his pitches. Storm off the mound. He's a competitor.
Jose Bautista is on deck. Jose with 6 home runs and 22 ribbies. The big guns are producing RBIs, and Donaldson gets a piece of it, fouls it off.
Blue Jays catch a little bit of a break to begin this road trip here in San Francisco. They do not see Johnny Cueto. They do get Madison Bumgarner, but they face the 2 weakest links, I guess you could say, in their starting rotation.
Peavy tonight and Matt Cain tomorrow, and Bautista will bat with a man at first. Well, the Blue Jays starters have gotten off to a great start, and when you look at the top 3 for the Giants, they too have gotten off to a great start, but you're talking about 4 and 5. It's been a struggle.
That's exactly what we were talking about. They will miss Cueto and they will miss the Shark, Jeff Smarja, who pitched yesterday. They'll get Baumgartner on Wednesday. They get Cain and Peavy, so an excellent chance in my mind. And think about what the Blue Jays are going to roll out there. Their 3 best pitchers, if you will, as starters. I think they have an excellent chance of winning this series and possibly sweeping it.
Yeah, and that's what you have to think about. But obviously, you've got to just put good at-bats together and don't assume you're going to pound on Jake Peavy.
That has been the problem so far, putting good at-bats together.
Ball and a strike to Jose Bautista. Lots of Blue Jay fans in attendance.
Had a chance to run into a couple of them today. They were saying how they drove down from Alberta. Get a chance to see their Blue Jays.
Bautista fouls it straight back.
I'll tell you what, they picked a beautiful ballpark, didn't they?
One of the best in baseball for sure. AT&T Park opened in 2000. And they did everything right. They got palm trees, they got big gloves, a big Coca-Cola bottle. That's San Francisco Bay in the background. The Bay Bridge is off to the left. McCovey Cove beyond the fence in right.
Hard
it's
to believe.
Spectacular.
17 years now that they have played here.
Bautista base hit into center. Donaldson will stop at second. So a 1-out walk and a single. So the Blue Jays are knocking on the door early.
This is where they do their best work right here in the first inning. They are one of the best hitting teams batting average wise in the first inning, over 300 as a team. It's a breaking ball and Bautista cuts his swing down. No overswinging there. Stayed right with that breaking ball, hit it in the center field for a single.
The Blue Jays are the 5th best team with batting average in the first inning. The Boston Red Sox have hit .350. They lead the pack. Edwin Encarnacion. He's the first baseman, obviously, with no DH here in this interleague game.
Edwin trying to get back on track also. In a little bit of a mini funk, if you will.
I asked Edwin before batting practice today how he liked hitting in this ballpark. He said, I love this ballpark. It's great background. There's a lot of room for hits here. You know, everybody talks about the home runs and how big it is, but you see his career numbers against the Giants, .330. He's hit .345 in this ballpark. Two and one now.
Tough to do anything with that pitch right there. That little cut fastball from Peavy. I think he is going to take these right-handers. He might show pitches into him, but I think he's going to try and show everything and get him out away. Use that breaking ball away and try and keep it in the big part of the ballpark.
That gets away from Brown. The runners are going to move up. Donaldson to third. Bautista follows him into second. So golden opportunity. Pass ball charge to the catcher, Trevor Brown.
Just his 9th start once again at catcher. They try to rest Buster Posey after a grueling weekend against Colorado. Didn't shift very much right there. He just went down with one hand and tried to pick it. And the breaking ball got away, and a golden opportunity for the Blue Jays.
3 balls and a strike to Encarnacion. Ball 4. That'll load the bases. An early opportunity for Michael Saunders with the bases loaded.
You know, after that pitch got away from the catcher and the runners moved up, Peavy wanted nothing to do with Encarnacion, and to his credit, he took the walk. And this is exactly why John Gibbons put Michael Saunders behind Encarnacion. He knows that the opposition was not giving Encarnacion much to hit, so he needed an RBI guy. Somebody who was swinging a hot bat, and Saunders is put there.
We've just been informed the ruling on the pass ball has been changed. It is now a wild pitch charged to Jake Peavy. Bases loaded, 1 out for Michael Saunders. That ball backed up. That was a cutter, and it had reverse movement on it. It went out over the plate, kind of a backup slider. One career grand slam. Blue Jays need a base hit right here.
Something into the outfield. With a little something on it. Peavy will sink the ball at times. Doesn't have the bite on that sinker like he used to have.
You can hear Peavy trying to put a little extra into it. He's always been one that grunts an awful lot when he throws, and now unfortunately not a lot coming out.
Yeah, just 89 miles an hour on that fastball. He reached back for a little something extra.
The Giants have turned 31 double plays. Ground ball, base hit. Donaldson's in to score. Bautista got the stop sign, and then they changed, and Luis Rivera was in between. He stopped him, and then Bautista turned and put the brakes on, and Michael Saunders will drive in the first run of the ball game, his 10th ribby of the season, and still the bases are loaded.
Well, that worked out well, didn't it? You put him down there to drive in some runs. He gets that little breaking ball that stays out over the plate. This is the only outfielder with an assist for the Giants. Pence has 1, but they weren't going to test him there in the first inning. He put the stop sign up, then he told him to go, but it's too late then.
Troy Tulowitzki takes a first pitch strike. Tulowitzki's faced Peavy quite a bit from their National League days. 7 for 22, a .318 average with a home run. Blue Jays with a 1-0 lead. Tulowitzki's taking a lot of strikes.
Yeah, In baseball, vernacular is called in between. You're not really sure if it's going to be a fastball or if it's going to be a breaking ball, and you might be guessing. And there's been a couple of pitches in this at bat. These first two have been pitches, good pitches to hit for Troy. And he just has not been able to pull the trigger.
Strike three called. Peavy with the big strikeout. Gets Tulowitzki on 3 pitches.
Oh, he took the bat off of his shoulder. 3 pitches right there. The little comeback fastball, and it catches Tulowitzki out in front. You see how he took that pitch where his hands dropped and his shoulder opened up just a little bit? Tells me that he's just not seeing the ball. And he's in between, not real sure of what he wants to swing at.
Russell Martin batting with 2 outs. He goes after the first pitch.
You know, that might be the best game plan if you're struggling. Keep it simple, and the first pitch you see that your eyes tell you it's a strike, let it go. A lot of times hitters will try and be so fine and so perfect. Well, there's no such thing, right? No such thing as a perfect swing. Just go up there and see it and let it go.
Up and away. 1-1 count to Russell Martin. Blue Jays haven't really been able to cash in an awful lot on their opportunities.
They have had plenty. They have been lacking that big base hit to drive in multiple runs.
Up the middle. Crawford behind second. He'll try to go to first and does to end the inning. Brandon Crawford saved 2 runs for Jake Peavy, but the Blue Jays break out on top. Michael Saunders batting 5th in this lineup delivers in his first at bat. 1-0 Blue Jays. Score runs. They've been shut out through 9 innings in each of their last 2 ball games. They scored 5 runs in their last 28 innings. Their struggles are very well documented. 17-16 for the season. Brandon Belt, their cleanup hitter. He's swinging a hot bat. He's got a 7-game hit streak, hitting over 450 with 4 extra base hits. And then right behind him, Hunter Pence. He's hit well against the Blue Jays. 13 for 37 with 4 double, a home run, and 5 driven in. And they'll get their first look at Aaron Sanchez.
Lineup's been struggling to score runs, but they've got some good numbers all along, and we'll talk about that. Aaron Sanchez gets ready for his 7th start of the season. He looks to get the Blue Jays back on track. He turned in another quality start in his last outing. Started slowly in that game with 3 earned runs in the first 2 innings and then scoreless baseball over the last 5. This is his first start, first appearance against the San Francisco Giants in his young career.
Sanchez really focused on getting off to a good start. He's had some problems in a couple of starts this year in the first inning. Denard Span, the leadoff man. Sanchez misses up and away with the first pitch. .258 for Span in 31 games so far this season. There's a strike. It's 1-1.
It's an interesting stance, isn't it? That Span throws out there, sitting down in his crouch. You can see he swings from an open stance, front foot really tucked in, and then when he gets ready, he crouches and then goes from there. Not a lot of rhythm in that attempt.
It's almost hit by numbers. Gets set and then makes one move, another move, and there's not a whole lot of fluidity to it.
Look at that front foot bent back in to keep that front side in there.
Bouncing ball. Tulowitzki was shaded up the middle, and Span's retired. 6-3 on the ground out. Well, the defense has been doing their job. They have really done a good job. In the outfield, it is Saunders, Pilar, and Bautista. They got a lot of ground to cover in this ballpark. Donaldson, Tulowitzki on the left side. Goins and Encarnacion on the right side. And Russell Martin is behind the plate for Aaron Sanchez.
Kevin Pillar has been super in the outfield for the Blue Jays. Made an outstanding catch against Carl Crawford. He's gaining confidence, I think, with the way he has been swinging the bat. And defensively, he has been outstanding. It's an interesting ballpark. It carries to center field the ball, so the center fielder becomes very important here. There's a lot of room, like you said, in right center field. Look at Jose Bautista. They're going to shade him into that gap because there's a lot of triples in that right center field gap.
You see that corner out there? It's 421 feet away. They call that Triples Alley, and the Giants have hit 14 triples this season.
That's why I was talking with Tim Leeper, the outfield coach of the Blue Jays, before the game, and I said, how are you going to defend right center? He said, we're going to take Bautista and we're going to shade him off the line and try and cover up that right field gap.
And Panik takes ball 4. 4-pitch walk to Joe Panik with 1 out. Well, the starters for the Blue Jays have really done a number this month, and they have really gotten hot over their last 10 games. But you see what they've done in the month of May. Got the best ERA in baseball at 195.
Yeah, one of the best. 195. The best in May from April. They were good in April, but they've been great in May, and they've really been carrying this team. If they've gotten any kind of hitting, the record would be a lot better this month.
Sanchez comes back and throws a strike to Matt Duffy. And Duffy, the third baseman. Swings through that high fastball at 95. The Giants did a good scouting report on Sanchez. I spoke to the manager, Bruce Bochy, about Sanchez. He said, man, you got this young kid throwing tonight. He is really throwing hard with good movement. Bochy, a former catcher, appreciates good pitching for sure. That'll take care of that 1-out walk.
He has seen enough of good pitching over the years here in San Francisco, hasn't he? Saw a good pitch right there from Aaron Sanchez. After that 4-pitch walk, it was almost like Sanchez said, okay, that's enough. Here's 3 fastballs. Let's see what you can do with it.
He's got that kind of ability with his fastball, and now he's going to have to try to cool off the red-hot Brandon Belt. We mentioned his 7-game hit streak, batting .458 during that hit streak.
Left-handed hitters in this Giant lineup, not a lot of them are really hook pull hitter. They stay inside the ball. They try to use the big part of the ballpark, left center to right center field, so you can bunch your outfielders against these lefties.
There's a good swing right there. What you were talking about, that pitch was away, and Bell was just trying to take it the other way. This is a very good hitting ballpark. They talk about it being cold and the ball not carrying, but because it's so spacious, there's a lot of room for hits.
There's room. There's rooms between the infield and the outfield. Because there's so much room, there's down the line, there's all kind of room. And in the power alleys, you don't need a lot of home runs to score runs here. You know, we talk about the San Francisco Giants and the problems that they have had lately scoring runs. They're still 4th in the National League in run score with 161. And They don't do it with a lot of power.
They got off to a good start hitting the home runs. They hit 19 home runs in their first 10 games, but then the power kind of dried up for them. Russell Martin trying to encourage Sanchez back into the strike zone. You can see everything is up and away. He's a little bit late with his arm here in the first inning.
Time to make the adjustment right there. I think that's what Russell was really talking about right there. Stay over that mound just a little bit longer. Getting a little bit too quick.
Taking all the way. Second walk of the inning comes with 2 outs.
You know, and Russell Martin, the type of catcher he is, goes right out to Sanchez, and he's going to talk to him. One of the things that Sanchez has done since he has been moved into the rotation is he's not walking so many people. That's why it's a surprise that he's walked 2 already here in the first inning. Look how he has cut his walks almost in half from last year when he was a starter. Fastball command has been better. His breaking ball has been better. He's trying to work in that changeup just a little bit more.
You can see Martin pounding his glove in encouragement for his young starter. 2 outs, Hunter Pence. He'll swing at anything. This has popped up. Goins down the line, makes the catch, and Sanchez gets out of it. Aaron Sanchez making the start here in the interleague play. He'll bat second when we come back to San Francisco.
The Blue Jays had to make a roster move prior to today's game, calling up Ryan Tepera. Reason being, Brett Cecil has flown back home to be with his wife, Jen, who gave birth to their 3rd child today, Braylon. The good news, both baby and mother are doing fantastic, as his father. He'll be returning to the team when they open up their series in Texas on the weekend. The new paternity rule that's been around for a few years in Major League Baseball does allow players to take 3 days, and with the off day on Thursday, it allows Brett that extra day. John Gibbons says maybe the time away will actually do him some good. He knows that Brett, like most players, can put things aside, but they are human beings, and for the last week, Brett hasn't pitched all that well, and it's not surprising. He's probably had a lot more on his mind than simply baseball. Buck?
Absolutely, Barry. Thank you very much for the update. Congratulations to the Cecils on the birth of their 3rd child. That's very good news. We're in a little bit of a delay. It looked like something fell on the field out in center and did not expand. Had to retrieve it. Now he's back in his position, and Jake Peavy is set. 1-0 Blue Jays. Ryan Goins in the 8th spot in this lineup. Aaron Sanchez is on deck. Blue Jays scored a run on 2 hits in the first. They got 2 walks, but stranded 3.
Boy, they should have had a lot more damage in that first inning. 2 walks and 2 singles, a wild pitch, and all they could get out of that was 1 run. They had Peavy on the ropes. Now they got to knock him out.
It's really important if you can get into the Blue Jay or into the Giants bullpen early in this first game. The Giants used 7 pitchers on Saturday. and they have been beaten up a bit. Now you've got Peavy and Kane, who have struggled to pitch deep into a game. You can get in their bullpen and make them use that bullpen tonight and maybe again tomorrow night before you get to Madison Bumgarner.
Well, yeah, if you can get into the bullpen early tonight, that almost guarantees a roster move, doesn't it, for the Giants for tomorrow?
That's the way they've been doing things lately. 2-2 pitch to Goins. Down the left side, but that's going to slice out of play into the seats. Ryan batting 146, and it's been a real struggle for him. He got off to a tough start. He was hitting in bad luck early in the season. There's Aaron Sanchez with a bat in his hand.
You know, that's what compounded the whole thing, I think, for Ryan, is he was hitting some balls right on the nose, and he didn't have anything to show for it. And then you start thinking, and then that's what happens. 0 for your last 17. You start thinking about it, and then you look up at that scoreboard and you see a 1 in front of your batting average, and you start pressing just a little bit.
Blue Jays would love to get Goins on ahead of Sanchez so they can have an opportunity to have Sanchez bunt. Pulled foul on the breaking ball. Yeah, many of the players were talking about the fact that they are outdoors for the first time. The last 16 games they have played have all been indoors. Had a homestand before they went down to Tampa Bay to play 3 games at Tropicana Field, then came back for the 7-game homestand. It's a fly ball down the left side. Blanco is there right near the foul line. And Aaron Sanchez will come to the plate and get his first big league at bat.
Had a chance to walk from the clubhouse this afternoon down to the dugout. And when you do, you walk by the batting cages, the indoor batting cages that they have here. As you see all the pitchers got their eyeballs on air, and I heard this loud boom and crack coming out of that batting cage. And I'm like, wow, who's hitting? It was none other than Aaron Sanchez.
Well, he hits it on the first pitch, but right to the second baseman, Joe Panik. So Aaron Sanchez now officially has an at bat.
Why wait around, right? He could have stayed up there and taken a couple of pitches and let us talk about him as a hitter.
He'll be back up there. The way he's been pitching, he'll probably get 3 at bats tonight. 2 down. Kevin Pillar now will step in. This is something that American League players aren't that used to. When you hit in the leadoff spot after the pitcher's made an out, generally you like to take a lot of time and take your time getting into the box and get that pitcher back on the bench and let him sit down and catch his breath.
Boy, the National League teams have such an advantage, don't they, in these interleague games, especially when they're in the National League parks. American League pitchers not used to hitting, running the bases. It's a different type of game. And there's little nuances that you have to be aware of. That's one of them, what you just mentioned.
Well, and the other thing is they lose their hottest hitter. Justin Smoak been swinging a great bat. John Givens can't put Smoak in the lineup because you have to have Encarnacion play first base. So Smoak's really been swinging it with authority, and now he'll have to be relegated to a pinch hitting role. Pillar gets jammed. Duffy has it across the diamond in time, and a good bounce back inning for Jake Peavy. Blue Jays go down in order in their half of the second.
Blue Jays for a day contest for a chance to win a great Blue Jays on-field experience. For details, entry form, and rules, go to bluejays.com/Bacardi contest. The contest closes Thursday, June 30th at 4:59. Buck, I had a great on-field experience today when I got you to sign a copy of Changeup for me. Thank you.
I don't know if that's called a great on-field experience, but I appreciate your kind words. Lots of Blue Jay fans in attendance. A lot of people have come down from the west coast of Canada. I've actually met several people from Toronto who made their way out here. And then Crawford jumps on that first pitch and hooks it foul.
There was some Blue Jay fans down there. Like they got themselves a souvenir.
There's a changeup and a good one. And you notice, Pat, he's losing more velocity on his changeup as the season goes on, which is a good thing.
Yeah, remember it was about 90, then 89, then 88. That one was 87. It's just a feel pitch, the changeup. Getting that feel in your hand and trusting that if you take a little something off, it's not going to get hit. Trust me, the way he throws, as hard as he throws, if he can get that changeup into what his mix is, he is going to be awfully tough to hit.
That's tipped off the glove, and Goins is there to make the play. Nice move by Ryan Goins. Sanchez tipped it off his glove, and Goins had to change directions.
Well, there's one thing about Ryan Goins. He might not be hitting, but I'll tell you what, he doesn't take it out on the field. Still one of the best fielders the Blue Jays have had. You can see him to change a direction. That's athleticism right there. You want to get a guy who can move around, and Ryan moves as that ball tipped by Sanchez and makes the first out.
This is the left fielder, Gregor Blanco. Blanco, 268 average for the season.
He is playing because Angel Pagan is out with a hamstring injury.
Pagan's got a little bit of a hamstring problem. They expect him back possibly in this series. He's not been healthy for a while. Just kind of beat up a little bit.
Yeah, hamstring. He hurt it a few days ago, and they were saying if he can't go in this series, they might have to put him on the disabled list and backdate it just a little bit. So Blanco will get his chance in the outfield.
This is the 5th season for Blanco here with the Giants. He has played with the Braves, the Kansas City Royals, and now the San Francisco Giants. He was born in Caracas, Venezuela. He now makes his home in Florida.
He likes what he sees from the Blue Jays, doesn't he? Ooh.
Russell Martin got handcuffed on that high pitch. What happens sometimes when you have a hard thrower like Sanchez and he throws you a high pitch, you block yourself out with the glove. Watch where his glove is. You see his glove goes right in front of his eyes, and he lost track of that baseball, hit off the heel of his glove.
I don't even know, Buck, if he got leather on that one.
Little looper behind second. Tulowitzki stays with it, makes the catch. Nice play by Tulowitzki. Got a good read on it. And saves a base hit for Sanchez. Great shot of the ballpark from the low third camera angle, and you see the right field foul pole. Beyond that foul pole is McCovey's Cove. This is Trevor Brown starting tonight in place of Buster Posey, his 9th start behind the plate.
And Aaron would love to get him out right here. Make Jake Peavy lead off the 3rd inning. You're always aware of that pitcher's place in the batting order, aren't you, when you play in the National League?
Totally different game. You always make sure you know where that pitcher is. Ground ball up the middle, base hit. So Peavy will come to the plate here in the 2nd. Trevor Brown
That's why I think the guy hitting just in front of the pitcher, the number 8 hitter, it's so important. He knows he's going to be attacked by that pitcher, especially with 2 outs. He doesn't want to walk him. So it's important to have a guy there who can swing the bat. Brown keeps the inning alive with that 2-out single.
Peavy's a pretty good hitter. He's off to a decent start with the bat this season.
He's driven in 3 runs already this year.
.375 average. So they throw him a curveball. You don't want to give up a hit to a pitcher, that's for sure. If you're pitching, then you say, you know what, I'm not going to give in to you, Jake. I know you're swinging the bat well. And that'll do it. So Peavy caught looking at strike 3. 2 strikeouts for Sanchez. The Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead. And when we come back, it'll be the big bats for the Blue Jays. Josh Donaldson has walked and scored. Bautista has a single. Encarnacion has walked as well.
Sports Service delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. You see Russell Martin sitting on the bench. He got hit pretty hard in the heel of his hand.
Yes.
By that Sanchez fastball.
Well, you know a pitcher is throwing hard when he is able to do this, even in slow motion. Watch as Russell reaches up, gets blocked out, and that one hit him right in the heel of that glove. And the reaction from Martin tells me that that one hurt.
Yeah, it sure did, and you don't expect it. You leave your hand halfway out of that glove, and whether a catcher's glove or a fielder's glove, you just kind of extend it to halfway on your hand, and that heel is exposed to that baseball.
You actually have more control of the glove where it doesn't fit all the way on your hand. Well, you can tell he's being very careful at the middle of this lineup, and I understand why. It was Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion who really got the Blue Jays rolling there in the first inning.
Walk, single, walk. Yeah, there's a line drive right to Duffy at third. Donaldson's been hitting in some tough luck lately.
Keep swinging. That's all you can do. You can't guide it. You go up there, you have a good plan. You make a good pass at the baseball. Sometimes you hit it right at him.
Donaldson played pepper with Justin Turner in the 3 games against the Dodgers, and now he's lined out to Matt Duffy.
You know, the
fouls it back.
The last thing you want to do, I think, as a hitter is start thinking about it there and say, boy, okay, now if I only do this, that ball's going to start finding a hole. That's not true.
Then you create more problems. He had a good at bat, hit the ball hard on the line. Bautista singled on a breaking ball his first time up. He singled the center. That's that front door cutter that just missed inside. At 84 miles an hour, I don't know if I'd throw it there very often.
You better not miss, or it's not coming back. Looks like they're going to do the same thing.
Bautista fouls it off his foot.
Wow, and he missed his spot too. That's a pitch that Jose normally hits out of here. Just a little bit too quick. You can see Brown set up on the inside part of the plate. That cutter did its job. That's exactly what it was intended to do. Just get underneath the bat a little bit. Jose hits it right off his foot.
2 balls and 2 strikes. We're in the top of the 3rd. Blue Jays lead it 1-0. You mentioned Peavy when he won his Cy Young award. He was one of the nastiest pitchers as far as stuff. He had a tough angle to attack those right-handed hitters. He threw harder and had a wicked breaking ball.
That breaking ball used to take a left-hand turn, didn't it? I mean, he'd had such great arm strength that he was able to spin that baseball. Just don't see it right now from him.
No. He doesn't have the same velocity. The stuff breaking ball is not biting as it did. 3-2 pitch inside. Bautista walks. Jake Peavy shaking his head as he missed with that breaking ball to Bautista. 3 walks already issued by Peavy, and you take a look at the velocity chart from the fastball and the slider last year to this year, and there's a significant drop off.
Yeah, you say, well, it's only maybe 2 miles an hour off of his fastball, 2 miles an hour off his slider. That's a big difference when you're gauging how long a hitter can see the ball. Now, if you're taking 2 miles an hour off it, that's a huge difference. So he is going to have to hit spots, keep the ball down, use some of that movement. Hasn't worked for him over the last couple of games. He's given up 13 runs in his last 8 innings coming into this game.
When Jake Peavy won the Cy Young Award in 2007, he was pitching for the Padres. He had 240 strikeouts in 223 1/3 innings. I mean, he was a batter's nightmare.
Yeah, he was the Triple Crown winner. I mean, you can win a Triple Crown, if you will, in pitching. Wins, ERA, and strikeouts. He was #1 in the National League.
He said he really credits a couple of pitchers he played with in San Diego for his longevity and his success. Trevor Hoffman, the great closer, and then Greg Maddux. When Maddux came to the Padres, that's the year that Peavy won the Cy Young. And they pitched together, and he said Maddux really helped him an awful lot as far as how you set people up, how you prepare, how you utilize your stuff.
And you had a chance to coach him in the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, he was a very good competitor, obviously. We had Peavy, Roger Clemens, and Dontrell Willis as our 3 starters.
And what year was that? 2006?
2006.
And when did he win his Cy Young?
2007.
So he must have learned something from me.
Probably learned something from the other guys, the pitchers he was pitching with. He opened up the game against Japan in Anaheim, and Nishioka and Mooney Kawasaki were playing him for Japan, and of course Ichiro. Well, Ichiro hits the first pitch out of the ballpark to start the game. And that really set Peavy off. Full count, 1 out. Bautista takes his lead at first. There he goes. Swinging a drive down the right side, but foul.
Well, I like that they're starting the runner. Blue Jays have had trouble scoring runs and putting together innings. So the next thing you can do, you can be a little bit more aggressive on the bases. You can start runners. You can go first to third.
Bautista not running on that pitch. That was a quick pitch. And Tom Hallion, the first base umpire's hearing it from Bautista. He didn't stop.
Bautista's upset too. He got out there. He wanted to run, and Peavy quick pitched him, and he said that's a balk. And Tom Hallion, the crew chief, said no, I didn't see it that way.
Bautista anxious to run here. There he goes. Swinging a drive to left. Blanco back at the track, at the wall. This one is gone. A two-run home run for Edwin Encarnacion. And Peavy continues to have problems with the long ball.
For Edwin, that is a milestone home run. In Blue Jays history, it's his 6th home run of the season. And it gives the Blue Jays a 3-run lead. He was measuring Peavy pitch for pitch, found off a couple of tough ones, and then got the one that he liked, drove it out of here.
With that home run, that's 203 home runs Encarnacion has hit as a Blue Jay, and that ties him with Joe Carter on the all-time home run list.
Boy, what a career he has had with the Blue Jays. I looked into some of those numbers for Joe Carter. I said if he hits a home run tonight, he's going to tie Joe at 203 home runs as a Blue Jay. Joe did it in 4,093 at bats. This one right here for Encarnacion, got the pitch to his liking, was his 3,172nd at bat. Almost 1,000 at bats fewer than Joe Carter. But Edwin ties him with this one.
It's a big ballpark, but he put a charge in it. Blanco runs out of room, and it's into the seats. Boy, Blue Jays needed that.
They pitched to him. They pitched to him because Michael Saunders has been swinging a hot bat.
How about that? Saunders has an impact in his first game, batting 5th behind Encarnacion. He had an RBI in the first inning, and now they threw a pitch to Encarnacion. All of a sudden, Edwin has walked and homered with Saunders hitting behind him.
So I looked into some more of those numbers. It took Joe Carter 1,039 games to hit 203 home runs. This is Edwin's 873rd game as a Blue Jay. And he ties Carter. Joe had more RBIs, about 150 more RBIs than Edwin had.
Joe had a much more potent offense around him.
92 game-winning RBIs. Edwin's had 56 game-winning RBIs.
Saunders strikes out on the off-speed pitch. That's the second strikeout for Peavy. But Edwin Encarnacion now has 6 home runs and 26 RBIs.
Do you know what both of those guys hit? Their batting average, ball in play, 262 and 260. I mean, they're the same type of player. Joe Carter and Edwin Encarnacion's, their numbers as Blue Jays very similar.
Troy Tulowitzki caught looking at strike 3 back in the first. Pitch down and in with a little movement.
That might have been, excuse me, Buck, the best pitch that Peavy has thrown tonight. That ball had some movement on it. He took a little something off of it. That was a dive bomber. Something that we haven't seen from him tonight.
Bautista and Encarnacion have been on base all 4 times they've come to the plate. 2 hits, 2 walks, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. Tulowitzki pulls it foul. That's what the big guys are supposed to do. They're supposed to set the tone for the offense, and they have had a track record of hitting home runs and driving in runs.
Blue Jays have just had trouble scoring runs, manufacturing runs. even more when they're not hitting home runs. They've had so much problems scoring runs. You know what the remedy is? Hit more home runs.
They're not a manufacturing type of offense. Inside. 2-2, 2 outs. Blue Jays have scored 2 runs here in the top half of the third on the 6th home run of the season by Edwin Encarnacion. Ground ball. Left side. Duffy has it in time to Nowitzki's retire. But the Blue Jays get a 1-out walk from Jake Peavy to set the table for Edwin Encarnacion. He works him and got a pitch out over the plate and drills it into the seats in left. A 2-run home run makes it 3-0 Jays.
Fans, it's just over a week away. Sportsnet's Jays Care broadcast auction presented by TD. It will take place during our national broadcast of the Blue Jays against Tampa Bay on May the 18th. 12 unique Blue Jays experiences and packages up for bids. Visit bluejays.com/broadcast auctions to see a list of all the prizes. All funds will help Jays Care go beyond the ballpark for over 62,000 children and youth across Canada in 2016. Buck?
There's a couple of Blue Jay fans that have a special interest in this game. That is Aaron Sanchez's parents, Mike and Lynn. They're here from Barstow, California. I'm surprised Mike's sitting down. He's never one to sit and watch.
Where's his hands? It looks like he has them in the pocket.
He
don't want to move.
Walks around when Aaron's pitching and kind of sneaks around. But he enjoys it, obviously. He was a pitcher himself. Top of the order. Denard Span leads things off. He grounded out to short his first time up. Sanchez with a 3-0 lead got through the first and pitched around a couple of first inning walks. Nice play by Donaldson. Positioned perfectly, 1 out.
Save during the Lawn and Garden Expert Sale, only at Home Hardware and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Beautiful shot of San Francisco downtown, just blocks away from AT&T Park. Joe Panik, the second baseman, walked his first time up.
You know, this is a team, the San Francisco Giants, where if you're the pitcher, you've got to be aggressive. It's a team, they don't strike out a lot. They have the fewest strikeouts in the National League. They walk a lot. They have the second highest walk total in the National League. You mentioned the power. There's not a lot of power. I wouldn't say they're a bombing type of team. So they put the ball in play. They use the whole field. So I think as a pitcher, how you counteract that, you've got to be aggressive and you've got to throw strikes.
Changeup missed downstairs. We mentioned the home runs. They got off to a good start. They hit 19 home runs in their first 10 games. Since then, they've only hit 12 home runs in the last 23 games. So the power has dried up.
You know what they do? They hit a lot of singles. Not a lot of extra base hits. So their on base percentage is going to go up. It's third in all of baseball at 344. That's why you've got to pound the strike zone. And with Sanchez's sinker, changeup, curveball combination, he should have success against them.
There's a swing and a miss, a strikeout, 2 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Lots going on in baseball. Thank you very much, Jamie. Matt Duffy, the third baseman, goes after the first pitch, breaks his bat, right back to the mound. Aaron Sanchez has a quick inning, 1, 2, 3. Giants go down in order in the half of the third. Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead. '54 when they were in New York, and then Bruce Bochy's team won in 2010. They skipped a year. They won in 2012, and once again 2014, the odd years doing the trick against the Giants. And the Giants had won 3 World Series in a span of 5 years. And Bruce Bochy, the manager, is one of 10 managers to win at least 3 World Series. The other 9 are all in the Hall of Fame.
And it's another even numbered year, 2016. So everybody's saying, well, it must be the Giants year. You know what all of those teams had in common, the 10, 12, and 14 team? They were built on pitching and defense. Tim Lincecum, Matt Cain, Madison Bumgarner, Barry Zito was on the 2012 team. That's how Bruce Bochy, and he's a master at using that bullpen.
Giants have never lost a postseason series with Bochy at the helm. They've won 10 straight series, and Joe Torre's Yankees, they have the record, 11 straight series without a postseason series loss.
He's a Hall of Fame manager for me.
Yes, absolutely. He's managed 21 consecutive seasons, and he's signed through 2019.
I mean, he had success with the San Diego Padres. Got them to the World Series, didn't he, when they played the Mets?
Yeah.
Or excuse me, the Yankees. Padres and the Yankees.
Yeah, he was a good player. He played parts of 9 seasons as a catcher in the major leagues. Another interesting piece of history about Bruce Bochy's the 4th Giants manager to be born outside the United States. Bochy was born in France. Jack Doyle in 1895 managed the Giants. He was born in Ireland. And then Arthur Irwin managed the Giants in 1896. He was a Canadian. Russell Martin goes around and strikes out. The 4th manager for the Giants that was born outside the United States, of course, was the great Felipe Alou from the Dominican Republic.
But Bochy's the guy with all the titles, huh?
Hey, I made fucking contact.
One out. Base hit for Ryan Goins. Jumps on that first pitch from Peavy.
Well, he knows he's going to be around the plate because you got the pitcher on deck. So go up there swinging. Looked like a little slider over the middle of the plate, and he yanks it into right field for a hit. Now we get to watch Aaron Sanchez's butting technique. Back at Rogers Center, when they were home, they were talking about hitting and bunting, getting your hands out of the way. A lot of times pitchers will bunt if you're not familiar with it, and you got your hands wrapped around that bat, you're going to get drilled.
One out. Duffy at third is in on the grass. Sanchez turns and squares and jabs at it, bunts right through it. Yeah, what you don't want to do is have that pitcher put his fingers around the front of that bat, expose him to the baseball, and we have seen it time and time again where pitchers not accustomed to hitting will wrap their fingers around the front of that bat and expose it to that baseball.
And if it's hit, that's a broken finger. Aaron's got to stay over that plate just a little bit more. He's backing out of there. See how he's backing out of there? Keep that bat over the plate.
His heart was in it, but his backside wasn't. He was taking a hike. That was a breaking ball. Peavy knows Sanchez hasn't hit much. He'll probably throw him another breaking ball now with 2 strikes.
Swing away.
Peavy wanted to check and see if Sanchez was going to tip his hand.
Yeah, that was a design play right there by the veteran Peavy. Step off and see if Sanchez will give away what he's going to do.
Aaron strikes out, another breaking ball. A couple of strikeouts this inning.
The all-new Honda Civic, now available with Turbo, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Back to the top of the order. Kevin Pillar is 0 for 2 so far.
This is why you want a good leadoff hitter, right? This is the 4th inning. It's his 3rd at bat already. Put your hottest hitter in there. If you don't have your prototypical type of leadoff hitter, put your hottest hitter there. He's going to get that extra at bat.
Get him up there as often as possible. John Givens has been toying with the idea of using Pillar and Saunders in a switch platoon type system, but now he's got Pillar in the leadoff spot against the right-hander Peavy, and he's dropped Saunders down into the 5th spot. Another breaking ball. Pillar shakes his head. Adam Amari, the home plate umpire. Pillar asking the ump about it. Not a good idea to shake your head.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a younger player like Pillar. One ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Going at first with a single. Foul tip held on to by the catcher. So Peavy strikes out the side in the fourth. Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead for Aaron Sanchez.
Chance to capture the cup with Sportsnet. We're providing fans the opportunity to win a trip to the Stanley Cup Final, giving away a pair of tickets including flight, accommodation, and the more you watch, the more chances you'll have to win. Capture the cup with Sportsnet. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. As we are moving to the bottom of the fourth inning, Buck Martinez along with Pat Tabler, who's back after a week at home. That's good to have you back, Pat.
Good to be back. Miss all the guys, the team, but I was watching when I was at home. Kept my eye on the team.
They had a 4-3 homestand. This ball was drilled to center. Kevin Pillar's got plenty of room. 399 to straightaway center in this big ballpark, and Pillar like a young colt in a pasture out there.
Get a chance to roam. There's a lot of room out there, and that's what you want to do with some of these left-handed batters of the San Francisco Giants. Throw that sinker away. They're not guys that hook the ball to right field. They'll stay in the middle of the diamond. There's a lot of grass out there, and Pillar covers it as good as anybody.
Hunter Pence flying out on the first pitch he saw to end the bottom of the first. Giants have one hit. That was a 2-out single by the catcher Trevor Brown in the second.
What was wrong with that? Down and away. You mentioned the Giants really struggled to score runs lately. 2 games in a row.
They've scored a total of 5 runs in their last 28 innings coming into this game. So that's the third walk issued by Sanchez. It comes with 1 out here in the fourth. Brandon Crawford was retired on a tipped ball off the glove of Aaron Sanchez. Goins made a nice change of direction play and threw him out at first. Got on and fouled off. It's 0-2. Sanchez making a dramatic turnaround after a 4-pitch walk to Hunter Pence. Gets ahead of the shortstop Brandon Crawford.
We haven't seen him use the curveball much tonight through the first 3 innings.
Not at all. He hasn't used it much at all. It's always been a good pitch for him. But they've got 1 hit. Russell knows what he's doing.
There's a curveball for you. I thought they might run away from it with first base open, but his curveball's so good he can use it as a strikeout pitch. And because he hasn't thrown it much tonight, he's going to catch Brandon Crawford by surprise with it. Look at that. Right over the middle of the plate. Curveball and a big out.
4 strikeouts now for Sanchez. Gregor Blanco, the left fielder, popped out to the shortstop. Hit a little Texas leaguer pop-up. Looked like it might drop in center, but Tulowitzki went back and made a catch.
Outfield's going to shorten up now against Blanco. Not a lot of power. No home runs, 6 RBIs there. They are playing him the other way.
Bouncing ball. Goins right at the edge of the grass makes the play. The 1-hour walk is stranded. We'll go to the 5th. The Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Kevin Barker in the Samsung broadcast studio.
Sportsnet app and stay up to speed with live pitch tracker, in-depth stats, and exclusive video highlights, plus live stream on the go. Download for free today. Buckeye was spending the afternoon yesterday in San Francisco streaming the ball game on my phone. Great app and a great way to watch a game when you can't be near your TV.
It sure is a great way to watch a game. You can keep track of everybody around both leagues and make sure you're up to date on everything that's happening in the baseball world. Aroldis Chapman made his debut tonight with the Yankees. He threw 11 pitches, 7 of them over 100 miles an hour.
His first 4 was over 100 miles an hour. Did not get a save, though, tonight. Gave up a run.
Josh Donaldson hits it high in the air to center. Bernard Span over, makes the catch. 1 down. Jake Peavy struck out the side in the 4th. He has 5 strikeouts, but these are the 2 next hitters that have caused him problems all night long, Bautista and Encarnacion.
It's understandable, but he's become very defensive when Bautista and Encarnacion have come to the plate. Really hasn't challenged him. Falling behind a couple of times and then giving up the home run to Encarnacion.
He doesn't have much to challenge them with. At one point, he threw in the mid-90s.
Mid-90s.
And he didn't have that kind of velocity anymore, so he has to pitch with his head and not with his arm.
That's right. And that's what I mean. It's understandable becoming very defensive with these 2.
It's really interesting that both Bautista and Encarnacion have the identical numbers against him coming into this game. They're both 5 for 23. They have reached base all 4 times they've come to the plate tonight. Bautista has singled and walked. Encarnacion has walked and homered. Pulled foul. First game of a 3-game series here in San Francisco. First time the Blue Jays have been here in San Francisco since June of 2013. They split to 2 games when they were here last.
I couldn't believe that when I read that today. It's been 3 years since we've been here. R.A. Dickey pitched in one of those games. Pitched a great game and ended up losing that, if I remember.
They are 2-6 all time in this ballpark. The ballpark opened up in 2000. And you talk about a beautiful stadium. As we mentioned, 426 consecutive sellouts for the Giants. Bautista hammers it, but that's going to hook foul into the seats.
Did you ever play in Candlestick Park?
As a kid.
As a kid, you did?
Yeah. As a 16-year-old, I was on a Phillies scout team and caught Gary Nolan at Candlestick Park.
Candlestick Park.
Yeah.
When was that?
In October.
In October.
The weather was perfect.
So it was perfect. I was going to say, if you've ever been there in the summertime, it's freezing.
Another pitch inside, and Bautista's way out in front. Yeah, the coldest months at Candlestick were June and July. It was always windy and cold, and remember the great shots of players bundled up, dirt being blown off the field.
Some of the toughest conditions because of the wind at Candlestick Park.
Bautista reaches base once again. Now time for the Blue Jays drive of the game, brought to you by the all-new Honda Civic, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Edwin Encarnacion in his last at bat in the 3rd inning gets a pitch to his liking and unloads to left field. It's going to tie with Joe Carter for the most home runs, or excuse me, with 203 home runs as a Blue Jay. That long drive to left field by Encarnacion, tonight's drive of the game. Only Vernon Wells, Jose Bautista, and Carlos Delgado have hit more home runs in their Blue Jays career.
There's a first pitch strike. Edwin, as we mentioned, has walked in, hit that 2-run home run. Well, we talk about the home run, 203 for Encarnacion. It's tie him with Joe Carter. Vernon Wells is 20 home runs ahead of that pair. And then Bautista, 249, second all time to Carlos Delgado. 336 home runs. That's the franchise leader.
I tell you, some great sluggers in Blue Jays history right there on that board.
This one's going to hook foul, and Edwin got a fistful of bees on that one. Must have hit it off the end of the bat.
On a cold night, one more time, watch it. Off the end of the bat and zzz, start feeling it in your hands. Talk about those great sluggers. You and I have had the pleasure to watch 2 of them at the same time in the Blue Jays lineup in Bautista and Encarnacion. What a treat it's been.
Bautista, of course, a 2-time home run champ.
Well, one way or another, this is going to be Jake Peavy's last inning. That's Albert Suarez getting up just in case they need him to get through this inning. The pitcher's spot comes up second next inning. So Bruce Bochy thinking ahead if he's got to use Suarez to get through this inning or pinch hit for Peavy.
Well, Brown has that one go off his glove back to the screen, and he didn't go after that ball very well. Backhanded, tried to glove it, and Bautista moves into scoring position.
There was a wild pitch in the first inning on the same type of pitch away from him. He didn't shift over and block that ball. The double play is taken out right there. He tries to backhand that one and doesn't smother it. Normally, you just like to get over and just get part of your body on it and keep it in front of you.
Yeah, you just risk having this ball go off your glove. Slide over to your right, put your glove down and block the ball. You'll keep Bautista there. Now the double play is out of the picture. Michael Saunders will get a chance to hit this inning.
Surprised he's even throwing a strike now. Remember what happened after that wild pitch in the first inning. Bautista and Donaldson moved up to second and third, and then he basically walked Encarnacion on a 3-2 pitch, just threw it off the plate. Surprised he's even trying to go after him.
3-2, 1 out. Bautista at second. The Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead. Encarnacion strikes out. Up and away with the fastball. Another strikeout for Peavy. That gives him 6.
6 tonight. First time he got Encarnacion. It's just a rising fastball up and away. Just, we're going to throw it up there. We're going to throw it off the plate. And if you're a little over anxious, you're going to get yourself out. And that's what happens as he registers his 6th strikeout.
They've got a base open with Tulowitzki on deck, but they're going to pitch to Michael Saunders. Be interesting to watch how Peavy goes after Saunders here. I don't think they're going to really be aggressive pitching to him.
Very carefully. Everything off the plate. I think they're going to do the same thing that they just did with Encarnacion. Nibble on the corners. And if you're a little bit overly aggressive, you might get yourself out. If not, if I walk you, no big deal.
Got one right on the outside corner. Of course, Michael Saunders from Victoria, BC, out on the West Coast again. Went to Lambrick Park Secondary School in Victoria. Upstairs, everything around the perimeter of the strike zone, and Peavy's not going to throw anything too close, you wouldn't think, especially with a runner in scoring position. Saunders drove in the first run of the ball game. The base hit to right. That was in the first inning.
This is where you've got to really understand the situation, what they're trying to do to you here.
Oh, he made a mistake right out over the plate. Trying to come off the plate inside. Now he'll probably throw something soft.
Yeah, they wanted that one up, and he missed.
You can't get too cute here. It's already a 3-run deficit for the Giants, and you got a base open. Saunders would just as soon get a strike, put something in play. In the dirt. Troy Tulowitzki is on deck. He has struck out and grounded out in his 2 plate appearances. He's certainly taking his time here. It's a full count, 2 outs. Bautista at second base. Blue Jays are up 3-0. Breaking ball. Pitched around him, and that's going to be it. Here's Bochy coming out of the Giants dugout.
Still hasn't made the sign that he wants to go to that bullpen.
Well, these two have been together a long time. Bochy managed Peavy in San Diego. He's seen him in his heyday, and he trusts his veteran to get out of this situation. So Bochy just came out as if to say, "You still got this guy?" And Peavy, I'm sure, said, "Yeah, I got him. I'll get out of it."
Yeah, he got Suarez. He doesn't want to burn that pitcher just to get through this inning because the pitcher spot is coming up second next inning. He also doesn't want to burn a position player by using the double switch. Not yet. It's only the 5th inning. He wants his starter, Jake Peavy, to get through this inning so then he can maneuver in the bottom of the inning.
But still, the the Giants are struggling to score runs and are already down by 3. Troy Tulowitzki takes a breaking ball for a strike. Tulowitzki struck out on 3 pitches in the first and grounded out to third in the 3rd inning. Breaking ball just off the outside corner. Ball on the strike.
You know, I believe if he showed that he could throw the ball there tonight, that he would have got that call. But he's been wild. He has walked 3 batters tonight. Check that, 4 batters tonight, and he wasn't going to get that borderline pitch.
Bouncing ball up the middle. Crawford's not going to have a play. Tries to throw behind Bautista, but he stayed close to third. Tulowitzki reaches on the infield hit.
You know, the thing about this Giant infield is the second baseman, shortstop, and third baseman were all drafted as shortstops. So they're athletic. They can move. They've got good arms, soft hands. And that was on display right there by Brandon Crawford. He kept that ball on the infield and keep that run from scoring. But Duffy, Crawford, and Panic were all signed to shortstop. And now they're playing all around the diamond. Tough to get the ball through.
Crawford won his first Gold Glove last year and also won the Silver Slugger Award at shortstop. Russell Martin, the catcher, with the bases loaded.
This ball looked like it was headed out into center field. Panic and Crawford are there. Crawford, the shortstop, comes up with it, but he has no play at any base.
Crawford made a good play on Russell Martin in the first with the bases loaded to throw him out at first, ranging behind the bag at second.
He made a play in yesterday's ball game against the Colorado Rockies on a one-hop smash to his left. Took a terrible hop, gloved it, and made the out. He is a very underrated shortstop.
Two and one count. Martin has had 37 at-bats against Peavy and never homered. He's just 4 for 37 for his career against Peavy. Popped up. Second baseman Joe Panic makes the catch and Peavy gets out of it. The Blue Jays leave the bases loaded for a second time tonight. Campbell, and you can see McCovey's Cove is littered with all sorts of floating vehicles. Back to the future.
Back to the future. The DeLorean made its appearance. They're waiting for a baseball.
Yeah, they are. Fans sit out there hoping to get a splash hit when it bounces into McCovey's Cove. There have been 68 out there. They keep score on it. The right field fence.
That's the first time I've seen that car out there.
I've not seen that one out there either. Aaron Sanchez pitching in the 5th. He's allowed 1 hit. And this is the man that got it. Trevor Brown had a 2-out single in the 2nd. For the Giants, it's the A spot, and then a pinch hitter. Connor Gillespie has come out on deck to bat for the pitcher, Jake Peavy. And that's why Bruce Bochy was patient and allowed Peavy to get out of it so they didn't have to burn 2 players. Sanchez looked like he tried to guide that one into the strike zone and got away from him.
Or overthrow it. There's Gillespie on deck. Make a good pitch. Put it in a good spot right there. I don't care how hard you throw. You have to be able to throw the ball where you need to get outs. And with his great movement, aim for the middle of the plate and let that movement do the rest.
Tapper back to the mound. Sanchez throws to first. First out of the bottom half of the 5th inning on the comebacker.
What you'd like to see is him just attack that strike zone, make them force their way on base. He has had 3 walks to go along with that single, so 4 base runners for the Giants so far through 4 1/3 inning.
This is Connor Gillespie. He is back with the Giants. He was originally drafted as a sandwich pick by the Giants in 2008. 37th pick overall between the 1st and the 2nd round. Then the White Sox got him from San Francisco in a trade February.
I think he's a perfect National League type of player. He can play multiple positions if you have to. He's a left-handed hitter, and look at his swing. If that isn't conducive to being a pinch hitter in the National League, I don't know what is.
Very compact swing. He flies out to the center fielder. 2 quick outs. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Thank you very much, Jamie. Aaron Sanchez with a comfortable lead the way he's thrown. 3-0, bottom of the 5th.
How about the White Sox?
Yeah, they've just gotten off to a great start.
22-10 coming into this game, and the Cubs 24-6. I think the Cubs got washed out today. 46 wins already for the city of Chicago. Could be a fun summer for him.
Sure should be a fun summer. Baseball capital of the world right now, Chicago, north side and the south side. Nice play by Encarnacion. He bobbles it, and that's going to, looked like Span was across the bag, and Bruce Bochy is going to have a look at it. Encarnacion made a good grab, bobbled it. It was bang bang at first, and Span is going to stay put at first base until the video room can have a look at it for the Giants.
Yeah, everybody's going to stand still. What a play by Encarnacion to get it. Here's in his haste. He bobbles it, stays with it, and then fires over to first base. What a play by Encarnacion. Showing off some skills over there at first base. If at first you don't succeed, try again. And Edwin, so far, they said they got him.
Take a look at it. This will show clear cut. Looks like he's out. Giants aren't going to challenge it. And the Blue Jays are through the 5th. We'll go to the 6th. It's a 3-0 game. Jimmy Campbell. This is Albert Suarez, who got his major league debut out of the way yesterday. Pitched the scoreless 9th inning. He is 26 years old. He is from Venezuela.
There are his numbers in his 5 games in AAA this year. A very good earned run average of 288. He's a ground ball type of pitcher. His fastball's got some movement on it. Excellent changeup. Threw a changeup yesterday in the ball game and got a ground ball double play after he walked the first batter he faced in the big leagues.
Suarez began his career with the Tampa Bay Rays. He signed as a non-drafted free agent in 2006. He's had Tommy John surgery. Ryan Goins fouls it into the seats down the left side. Goins had a single to right field back in the 4th. He's 1 for 2. Aaron Sanchez is on deck. Suarez pitched with the Angels minor league system last year and was signed by the Giants as a minor league free agent.
He's got a good arm.
AAA.
Good arm. Nice little breaking ball. Nice little 2-seamer that he'll use to get ground balls, and an excellent changeup.
That misses away. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. The leadoff hitter here in the 6th. Breaking ball outside. It's a full count. It's the first game here of 3. Blue Jays playing in interleague play for the first time. They were 12-8 last year, while the Giants went 13-7 in interleague action. Here's the 3-2 pitch, drilled into center field. Span got a good break. He makes the catch well short of the warning track. Jake Peavy started for the Giants. The Blue Jays had him on the ropes a couple of different times, and this really couldn't knock him out of the game. They had the bases loaded in the 1st and left 3 stranded, and did the same in the 5th. Peavy overall with 6 strikeouts.
5 hits and 5 walks. That's a lot of base runners in a couple of wild pitches by Peavy. 112 pitches in just 5 innings.
Sanchez down the right side. Hunter Pence runs out of room here. And first pitch swinging for his 2nd at bat tonight. He had a first pitch ground out in the 2nd inning and then struck out after a failed bunt attempt in the 4th.
Just a little bit tardy on this high fastball, the inside out swing, and then you got to find the ball. Where is it? There it is, down the right field line. To finish up on Peavy, the Giants should feel fortunate that they're only down 3-0. Blue Jays had tons of base runners tonight, and they haven't really been able to cash them in. They've already left 7 runners on base.
Breaking ball, and you can see the pitcher left that breaking ball inside, and we used to talk about that. He threw it where he left. Sanchez was hanging in there, and then he left and bailed out a little bit, but that breaking ball stayed in the inner part of the plate so he could get a piece of it.
Good hitter hammers that one. That was a mistake.
Sanchez strikes out for a second time.
Save during the Lawn and Garden Expert Sale, only at Home Hardware and Home Hardware Building Center. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Shot of the Bay Bridge. Here to Buena Island in between the East Bay and San Francisco. It was the site of the World's Fair back in the 30s.
We'll be on that bridge later this summer, although you're not going to Oakland, are you? Darn it. That's the bridge you take over to Oakland.
That's it. Kevin Pillar in the leadoff spot, getting his 4th plate appearance here in the 6th inning. 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Pillar came in swinging a hot bat. He had hits in 13 of his previous 15 games.
And big hits, too. The 3-run home run against the Dodgers.
Came on Friday night against Joe Blanton. See, he's got a little strawberry under that right eye. He got rug burn on that catch he made off Carl Crawford, and here he reaches base with a 2-out walk. Pillar made a terrific diving catch in the alley in left center off the bat of Carl Crawford. Dove for it, and when he came down, he rubbed his face across the artificial surface.
Hey, sometimes you got to sacrifice that body, right? Especially the way he plays. Plays the game hard.
2-out walk. Josh Donaldson 0 for 2 with a walk. He walked and scored in the 1st. Donaldson lined out to the 3rd baseman in the 3rd and then flew out to center in the 5th. Blue Jays have just 5 hits.
But they've had a ton of base runners and have not been able to cash in. Here's the message that Brown's taking out to Suarez right now. Got to throw it over. The reputation of the Blue Jays is they can hurt you with the home run, but they are very patient. They're going to sit there and they're going to wait till you get in the plate.
Yeah, they'll pass the baton anywhere in the order, especially where they are right now with Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion. Those 3 batters have been walked 4 times today, and 2 of those walks have come in to score. Donaldson tried to check his swing. You don't see him do that very often. Check swing foul.
No time to start thinking right now. Just get up there, see it, and let it go, especially 2-0. Never want to see a check swing on a 2-0 fastball.
Bouncing ball backhanded by Crawford. They go to second to end the inning. Nice play by Brandon Crawford. He's been throwing the leather around his shortstop for the Giants, but Blue Jays have the 3-run lead.
Get Blue Jays Flyaway contest is now on. Enter for your chance to cheer on the Blue Jays in Boston with WestJet. Go to BlueJays.com/WestJet Flyaway to enter. Buck, the Blue Jays had better hope the Red Sox bats cool off a bit by the time they get out to Fenway next month. Man, 14 runs tonight, many of them off Sonny Gray.
Yeah, they're really swinging the bats well, and those young kids have done a nice job. David Ortiz is having a terrific start to his final season.
29 RBIs now. He picked up his 29th tonight. And Jackie Bradley Jr., 15-game hit streak, 6 RBIs tonight out of the number 9 spot for the Red Sox. They are really swinging it.
Joe Panik lines out to Michael Saunders, who was shading the line in left. One down, 6th inning. Aaron Sanchez has really done a job tonight.
Use that fastball. Talked to him a couple of starts ago, and I said, I noticed you didn't use much more than your fastball in that game. The previous game, he said, I didn't need to. I think that was against the Boston Red Sox, and he was cruising. He said, I didn't need to use my changeup. I really didn't have to use my curveball that much. I kept getting outs with my fastball, so why change?
Yeah. And you let the hitters dictate what you need to do. And obviously, you can't do that every night, but when you have a good fastball and you're locating it well, why not? Matt Duffy with a 2-1 count, and you see the fastball strike percentage. American League leaders Jose Quintana of the White Sox, and then Aaron Sanchez ahead of Verlander and Stroman. Pretty good company right there, and you know what? I thought this would happen. Sanchez and Stroman are pushing one another.
I'll tell you what, Aaron's got to get back into it just a little bit right there. The bench has been jockeying Adam Homari, and Sanchez said something to him after that close pitch was called a ball. And the home plate umpire ripped off his face mask and said something to Aaron. So now you got to get back into your game. Take a look at this from Sanchez. This is the previous pitch. He wanted this pitch called a strike, and he didn't get it. Said something, and look at the umpire. Stop.
They weren't going to get that close call. 3-2 pitch misses. It's a walk. Now there's 4 walks issued by Sanchez. It's all part of growing as a pitcher. This is his 18th big league start. And you certainly don't want to show the umpires up. It gets around.
It gets around. That's right. They talk. Every game is on television, and they talk, and that's the last thing you want to do.
I had a pitcher in Kansas City in 1971, Dick Drago, pitched a long time in the major leagues, and he was very demonstrative, and he'd throw his hands up in the air when he thought a strike was called a ball. And for the entire season, he had a strike zone about as big as a postage stamp. And he finally said, you've got to tell the umpires, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Just keep telling them I'm sorry. I won't do it anymore. But it took about a year for the umpires to get over it.
How about you go tell them you're sorry? Why would you have to be the interpreter?
Because I was sitting in front of them all night long.
I think the umpires, are very lenient today than they were years ago. You did one thing like that, and they held it against you.
1-2. Sanchez gets ahead of Brandon Belt. Belt is 0 for 1 with a walk. Came into this game with a 7-game hit streak. 11 for his last 24 at bats. Two and two.
This is where Aaron has an advantage over other pitchers, where he's got the great movement and the fastball and everything, but he also has a second gear that if he needs a strikeout, he can reach back for a little something extra when he needs one. This might be the spot right here to do it.
Line drive into left. Michael Saunders loses it in the lights. It's all the way up against the wall. Duffy's being stopped at third as they miss the cutoff man. Blue Jays caught a break right there. Roberto Kelly, the third base coach, got in line with the throw, saw the throw coming in and stopped Duffy.
Well, Belt, first of all, is a very good low ball hitter. They wanted that fastball inside to try and tie him up, but it leaked out over the plate right down into his happy zone, down and away. He lines the ball hard to left field, but then unfortunately for the Blue Jays, the ball gets into lights and Saunders loses it. Backed up by Pilar, who short hops Tulowitzki. But by then they had already held up that runner. I mean, there is not much you can do with that right there. He's not going to catch that with his eye off of the ball. He's just hoping it doesn't hit him.
This is Saunders' first game at AT&T Park. One out for Hunter Pence, up and in. Russell Martin's going to go out and have a chat with Aaron Sanchez. The wheels came off a bit after Sanchez questioned that ball called by the umpire, and Russell's out there saying, just focus on me, throw strikes, and everything will take care of itself.
It's a learning process, isn't it, for young guys? It's where you got to gather yourself right here and make a pitch.
Blue Jays have a 3-0 lead. But the Giants have runners at second and third with one out. Ground ball. That'll get a run in. Tulowitzki throws to first. Pence is retired, but Duffy comes in with the first Giants run.
Pence drives in his 25th run of the season by keeping the ball in the middle of the diamond.
Not much Saunders could do with that ball. It got into the bank of lights high above the Blue Jays dugout, and he went over there and he held his glove up as long as he could.
He was also trying to shade that light out of his eyesight. He was hit in a line to left field. He lost it. Had no chance. Didn't even get a glove on it.
Brandon Crawford is 0 for 2, the shortstop. Has grounded out and struck out. Sanchez struck him out in the fourth.
This is where the Giants do a lot of their damage right here. 2 outs. They have come up with a lot of clutch hits.
Saunders falls over the mound. This is one of 4 parks in the majors where the bullpens are on the field. And this time it cost Michael Saunders as he tripped over that mound. You're running, keeping your eye on that baseball, and then all of a sudden your feet get tangled up.
And you know you're not going to get any help from the Giant players and coaches down there. Looked like it banged off of his glove and then his body. One more time down. I thought he had it, but then it ricocheted off of his body. What a tough inning for Michael.
The Giants have scored 61 runs with 2 outs this year. 62 counting Duffy coming in to score.
One more time for Saunders, off the glove. Still thought he had it. He just dropped his head. And then the ball ricocheted off the top of his hat. But you're not going to get any help from those players down there saying, hey, you're close. Watch out for the mound.
Not at all.
You're on your own.
They lost their tongues. Didn't say a word. Upstairs, it's 2-2 to Brandon Crawford. At the start of play tonight, the Giants came into this game scoring 61 runs with 2 outs. The Cardinals, the Cubs, the Nats, and the Pirates, the only teams that have scored more 2-out runs than the Giants.
So I mean about this is where they get their best work done right here with a couple of outs. Good at bats.
Pilar's got room. But the Giants break through. They score a run on a ground out. Couple of adventurous plays for Michael Saunders in left. Loses one in the lights and then stumbles over the mound.
Presented by the all-new Honda Civic, now available with Turbo, the 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Frida B is out there in the McCovey's Cove. Looks like they're raising their anchor, getting ready to sail off into the night.
Calling it a night already? It's only the 7th inning.
They might have a long way to go. Jose Bautista takes the first pitch strike. Out in front on that breaking ball, he fouls it back to the screen. We'd like to welcome those of you who have been watching hockey, Stanley Cup playoffs in Nashville and San Jose. Sharks, welcome to the ballpark. The Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. Edwin Encarnacion has homered tonight. He will bat with one out. Edwin has walked, homered, and struck out his home run, a 2-run shot in the third off Jake Peavy. Take the Blue Jays to a 3-0 lead. The Giants scored a run in the bottom of the 6th. It's 3-1. Upstairs with that breaking ball. 2-0. Inside breaking ball, now 3-0. Michael Saunders drove in the first run of the ball game with an RBI single in the first. The Blue Jays had Jake Peavy on the ropes, but that's all they could manage was the RBI single. They left the bases loaded in the first. There's a base hit to right, and Encarnacion reached out and stroked it into right field. Prior to tonight's game, PlayStation provided us with a prediction of who they thought the Blue Jays player of the game would be, and tonight they selected Edwin Encarnacion.
What a night he has put together tonight. Edwin Encarnacion has had a strikeout, a couple of hits, and a walk. Predictors said 1 for 3, a home run and 3 RBIs, and actually he's 2 for 3 with a home run and a couple of RBIs, and he's probably going to get one more at bat in the 9th inning, so right on.
The simulation is powered by MLB The Show 16. Welcome to the show, only on PlayStation. Michael Saunders gets jammed and pops it up. Brandon Crawford, the shortstop, right on the edge of the glass, makes the catch. 2 away.
That was a great piece of hitting, wasn't it, by Encarnacion? I mean, they're pitching him away. They're pitching him around, and it's obvious watching these guys, these pitchers, work to Encarnacion. So he just took what they gave him. Fastball away, shoots it to right field.
Had a big hole over on that side of the infield and shot it right through there. 2 outs. Troy Tulowitzki singled his last time up.
Right down the middle. That fastball, and Troy missed it.
Bouncing ball toward third. Duffy gloves it, fires in time, and the inning is over. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. The Blue Jays clinging to a 3-1 lead behind Aaron Sanchez.
Crowds this weekend at Rogers Center. You may want to get yourself a Blue Jays ticket package. You pick the games and reserve seats that get you closer to the action. Starting from 10 games up to a prorated full season, the account executives will find the package that best suits your need. Go to BlueJays.com to learn about all the great benefits of becoming a Blue Jays ticket package holder. Bye.
Great idea, Barry Davis, as there are a lot of Blue Jay fans here, and they have made their way to this beautiful ballpark, and they've been entertained by a nice effort from Aaron Sanchez. 2 hits over 6 innings, just 1 run allowed, and he's walked 4 but struck out 4.
2 hits. One of them was a gift, really, a ball that got into the lights. He has been dominant. You know, that pushed his pitch count up into that low 80s spot, so he needs a quick inning here. If he has a quick inning, they might. Said they might let him hit next inning. He's scheduled to hit 3rd and then maybe pitch the 8th inning if he has a quick inning here.
Rager Blanco popped the bunt attempt foul and takes a strike. Sanchez and Adam Hamari had a little bit of a disagreement last inning. Sanchez didn't like a particular call, and Amari told him, "You pitch, I'll ump."
Pretty basic, isn't it? I got the mask on. I'll let you know when it's a strike.
Hadn't thrown many curveballs tonight, and really hasn't needed to. Giants have just 2 hits.
He's thrown 1 good one. That was the strikeout of Crawford back in the 4th inning.
Every once in a while, he just gets in that groove where everything is up and away to the lefties.
From 0-2 to 3-2. He's trying to guide the ball in there, and that's going to bring the score card out for John Gibbons. He's going to start looking through it. There you go.
Bronco called out on strike 3, and good on Adam Omari, the home plate umpire. Called it a strike. It was a strike, and whatever happened last inning between Sanchez and Omari is not a factor.
A great job by Martin to frame it up there for him. That ball was diving away from Blanco. Sanchez comes back and gets him.
Catcher Trevor Brown has one of the 2 hits. Goes after the first pitch and fouls it past third. Sanchez came into this game with a 2-1 record. This is his 7th start of the season.
Great numbers on the road for Aaron this year.
Pitched very well away from Rogers Center. 2-0 in 3 starts with a 0.86 earned run average coming into this game tonight.
I think that's a great measurement, especially for a young pitcher, how well you can pitch on the road.
That's why they haven't thrown many curveballs tonight. He hasn't had a real good feel for it.
He really hasn't. I said he's only thrown 1 good one. That was the strikeout to Crawford.
The looper into right. Bautista has it go past him. Nope. He got enough of it to keep it close. That ball was sinking very fast in right field. He didn't hit it that hard, and Bautista did a heck of a job of keeping the ball close enough to keep Brown to a single.
You've got to make a split decision if you're Jose Bautista. Do I try and dive for this ball, or do I lay back and play it on a hop and keep that double play in order? Bautista does the next best thing. He dives, and he's able to keep that ball close enough to him that Brown can only stay at first base. And just like that, after that hit by Trevor Brown, it's going to get Gavin Floyd up.
1 out. Fly ball to right. Bautista in that alley. It is deep out there, and he makes the catch as Crawford. That was Jared Parker, who just pinch hit for the pitcher, and he flies out to right. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Any accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Now, Jared Parker was just called up from AAA Sacramento today, and he gets a pinch hit at bat and flies out to Bautista. That's all the way back to the backstop, and Trevor Brown moves to second. That'll be a wild pitch charge to Sanchez.
He's got to be difficult to catch.
Oh, yeah.
Here in Sanchez, because this ball moves so much. He's got a great arm. And right now, he hasn't really refined his control. It's better than it was, but he hasn't refined his control with all of his pitches, so you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah, I always found it up to pitchers that threw a moving fastball were the toughest guys to catch. You just never knew where that ball was going to go. You can see Martin's got to stay with that ball that ran on him down and away. Gavin Floyd, he's going to get more significant opportunities. John Gibbons made the announcement today that he's not going to go to Drew Storen in the 8th inning or those leverage situations for the time being, and he might give those to Gavin Floyd.
Jesse Chavez's name was mentioned also as a late inning type of guy because of the power in his arm. Hoping that Sanchez could have a quick inning here, but because he has thrown 15 pitches now, next pitch will be 16th here, number 99 on the night. His night will probably be over after this inning.
His spot in the batting order is third in the top of the 8th. Martin Goins and then the pitcher's spot. Bad walks. Pete Walker is going to come out first out of the Blue Jays dugout. The pitching coach will come out to have a chat with Sanchez, and Aaron puts his arm around Russell Martin and says, give me something. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Thank you very much, Jamie Campbell. Marte's had a big night. 4 for 4, 3 runs scored, 3 RBIs, 9 total bases.
Mariners are playing some good baseball.
And you know who's getting hit around a little bit lately is Matt Moore. Felix Hernandez, he's not really gotten off to a terrific start, not as we're accustomed to, but he's pitching well tonight and has a lead. Second baseman Joe Panik has walked, struck out, and lined out. Remember, we told you earlier the Giants are terrific at scoring with 2 outs. Their run in the 6th came with 2 outs. 62 runs have scored with 2 outs for the Giants this year. Sanchez trying to record the final out here in the 7th. 4 times this season he's pitched 7 innings. This is his 7th start.
Every time he reaches back for a little something extra, it just throws him off enough where that ball sails out of the strike zone. He had 2 walks in the 1st inning, another walk in the 4th, the 6th, one more here in the 7th.
I think as Aaron gets more innings of experience, he will understand that sometimes less is better. Especially if you're a sinker ball pitcher like Aaron. When you back off that sinker 6th, 7th, 8th inning, you're allowed to get more movement with it at a lower velocity.
You know what you have to do? You have to trust it. You have to trust if you throw it in a good spot, even though it's not a maximum effort type of pitch, that you have confidence that you're going to get outs with it.
Ground ball. Donaldson takes his time across the diamond. Sanchez, for the 5th time this season, has pitched 7 innings. He's got a 3-1 lead. Aaron Sanchez gets a shake from the manager, John Gibbons, for a job well done. He leaves after 7 strong innings, gives up just 1 run on 3 hits to the Giants, and he leaves in line for the win.
In line for his 3rd win of the season if the bullpen can hold it. Speaking of the bullpen, the Giants go back to their bullpen. This is Hunter Strickland. 14 games already this year. No record with a .346 earned run average. He's got a big arm. Big 4-seam fastball. Giants claim Strickland off waivers from the Pirates. Got good arm side movement to his pitches. He's thrown 13 innings and he's had 11 strikeouts this year.
So Strickland faced the bottom 3rd of the Blue Jays lineup here. Martin Goins and in the pitcher's spot. Sanchez is out of the game, so we'll see a pinch hitter. Good cut by Russell Martin. You mentioned the strikeouts for Strickland. He has 11 strikeouts in 13 innings, but he's got an unusual number with 2 strikes. As many strikeouts as he recorded. Hitters are hitting .323 with 2 strikes. Like making a few too many mistakes.
Make a mistake. Still has a good earned run average. Curveball's above average, and his changeup is average. But he has a good arm. Throws hard.
Andy Burns got a bat. Looks like he's going to hit for the pitcher's spot. And that will be his first big league at bat. We talked to Andy about that today, and he was thrilled to be here. Obviously, a beautiful ballpark, great setting. And so you're going to get in this series for sure.
Yeah, different game here in the National League where you use your bench just a little bit more for that pitcher spot. He was like, hey, whatever it takes, I'll play anywhere. Play in left field if I have to, first base, third base, shortstop, anywhere. Hit. Said, you're going to be nervous? Said, no. Said, my grandparents will be watching. They live in the Virginias on the East Coast. He said they're going to stay up tonight to watch.
Breaking ball, and Martin strikes out. There's another strikeout for Strickland.
The all-new Honda Civic, now available with Turbo. The 2016 North American Car of the Year.
Beautiful streetcars of San Francisco. Ryan Goins 1 for 3 tonight. First pitch breaking ball in there for a strike. Strike 2.
He made up his mind that he was going to swing at that last pitch, wherever it was. Strickland pulled the string on him and finds himself in the hole.
Andy Burns. You can remember standing on deck for your first big league at bat.
Scared to death. But wanted to get it out of the way.
Upstairs, 1-2 to Ryan Goins.
Everybody in the Blue Jay lineup tonight has struck out at least one time except Donaldson and Goins.
Ground ball, Belt waits on it, got an in-between hop, and Strickland is there. Goins is retired, and Andy Burns will come to the plate. 2 outs, nobody on. His first big league at bat. Andy is 25 years old. He was born in Greenville, South Carolina, now lives in Colorado. He was drafted by the Blue Jays, 11th round, the 2011 draft. Those are his numbers at Buffalo.
Opened up some eyes in spring training with a lot of hustle and aggressive style of play. Tell you what, look for that first pitch fastball right here. Swing as hard as you can, right? Guess that he's going to challenge you.
And he doesn't. He throws him a breaking ball. Burns played last year, started out in Double-A, New Hampshire, played just 6 games, and then went to Buffalo and played the whole year at Buffalo and had the 6th most hits in the international. He got 140 hits last year. He can swing the bat. Another breaking ball. Aaron Sanchez with another terrific start. He's in line for the win. Fouled out of play. Sanchez continues to perform very well on the road. Coming into this game, he was 2-0 with a 0.86 earned run average.
Couldn't ask for anything more than what you got from it. Should have been shutout baseball tonight for Aaron Sanchez, if not for that ball getting in the lights. Giants scored on a ground out then.
Strickland thought it was strike 3 off the plate inside. You can see it missed by a wide margin.
Brown tried to bring that one in to help him, huh? Tough to hit when you don't have a lot of information on the guy you're facing. Just see it and let it go.
Andy Burns strikes out. That ends the inning. Andy Burns gets his first big league at bat. Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Kevin Barker in the Samsung broadcast studio. Three-game series in San Francisco, and he pitched himself very proudly in front of his mom and dad here. 105 pitches over 7 innings. He was pretty good.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is he didn't have great command or control. 5 walks. He didn't really have a curveball tonight. We didn't see many of those. We didn't see a whole lot of changeups. But he did use his fastball, and he gutted out 105 pitches to get through 7 innings. He's in line for his 3rd win of the season. If the bullpen can hold on now, the Blue Jays have gotten just enough hitting tonight to keep them in the lead late into the ballgame. Now it's up to the bullpen. First one out of the bullpen will be Gavin Floyd. 11 games this year. There are his numbers. 15 strikeouts and just 3 base on balls. That's why John Gibbons has elevated him into the 8th inning this season.
He gets ahead of Matt Duffy with a first pitch strike. Gavin Floyd making a smooth transition to the bullpen. He had been a starter most of his career. Last couple of years he worked out of the bullpen. Last year finished up the season with the Cleveland Indians. Blue Jays actually faced him late in the season. He was throwing 97 out of the bullpen. We haven't seen that kind of velocity yet, but his curveball is always the equalizer for him.
You know what I like about him in the bullpen? He's a veteran. He's been around. He has seen it all, and he's not going to get excited. He's got good enough stuff that he can get the strikeouts when he needs to and make pitches when he has to. He's not going to get excited. John Gibbons searching for anybody right now to pitch in front of Roberto Osuna.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. You just give a guy an opportunity and then go to the next guy if he doesn't get the job done. There's that curveball. It's lined into the foul territory. But Gavin Floyd has a wipeout breaking ball. It's a hard curveball. And it's kind of like a slurvy curve. It's not an over-the-top curve like Aaron Sanchez, but it's got a lot of downward break to the first base side of home.
Yeah, he can get it off of the hitting plane.
Tom Howley and the crew chief down at first rings up Matt Duffy for the swing. So Floyd strikes out the first man he faces here in the 8th.
Well, there is one of the breaking balls. He's got two different types of breaking balls. A cutter slider type. That was the pitch that he just struck out Duffy with, and then that overhand curveball. Plus, putting him in the bullpen saves that arm. He's had so many injuries in his career.
Brandon Belt had a fortunate double back in the 6th. Fortunate in that it got in the lights. Michael Saunders, the left fielder, couldn't see it, and it sailed past him all the way up against the wall, and that extends the hit streak of Brandon Belt to 8 straight. Pretty good pitch. Russell Martin surprised it wasn't called a strike.
Tell you one thing for the home plate umpire, I think he's been pretty consistent tonight. According to Pitch Tracker, ball just off the plate, and he got it right.
It's an ongoing conversation between umpires and catchers about the strike zone. And Russ was thinking, well, that was a strike before, and you called it a ball. And that's the same thought that Brandon Belt had.
Yeah, the same pitch. Tell you what, they don't swing the bats on pitches off the plate. They're very patient.
That's driven into center field. No problem for Kevin Pillar. Makes an easy play of it. 2 down. Gavin Floyd hits the first 2 batters here. We mentioned there are so many people from Canada down here at AT&T Park. I ran into some fans that wanted to send their best wishes to the Hamilton family from Nelson, BC. Great Blue Jay fans, and just want to send us our best wishes to the Hamilton family. There's a ground ball. What an inning for Gavin Floyd. His first in the 8th inning. He handles it flawlessly. 3 up, 3 down with a strikeout. He'll go to the 9th.
Blue Jays Baseball Academy will be hosting 14 Honda Super Camps across the country. Learn techniques from former Blue Jays such as Roberto Alomar, Devon White, Lloyd Mosby, Jesse Barfield, and Dwayne Ward. You can register right now at bluejays.com/camps. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. And the Giants will send a new pitcher in to pitch the ninth. It's Corey Guerin, 15th appearance.
Their fourth pitcher of the ninth, third reliever. Guerin was a former Braves draft pick who they released and then signed with the Giants that week after he was released back in 2014. He's got an unusual delivery. It's sidearm, but he repeats his delivery very well. He's got some great movement on his fastball.
That's foul just wide of third off the bat of Kevin Pillar. Pillar has walked tonight. This is his 5th plate appearance. He's 0 for 3 with a strikeout and a walk. And that slider lifted in the air to right. Hunter Pence over in the alley makes the catch. One down here in the top of the ninth. Blue Jays have a 3-1 lead. With that, Roberto Osuna starting to loosen up. Gavin Floyd got the 8 and retired the 3, 4, and 5 hitter in order.
Guerin gets a lot of, excuse me, Buck, a lot of movement, a lot of late movement on that fastball. Tops out at about 92 miles an hour. His best pitch, though, is a swing and miss slider. There it is.
It's a big sweeper.
And from that arm angle, very tough to pick it up if you are a right-handed batter.
We mentioned Guerin had Tommy John surgery while he was pitching with the Braves. He missed the entire 2014 season. And it's unusual, but his last win came against the Blue Jays while pitching for Atlanta back in 2013. May 28, 2013 at Rogers Center picked up his last big league win.
I'm sure you and I were there.
Yep.
Although I be honest with you, I don't remember.
We've seen a couple of ball games
between then and now, right?
2-2 pitch to Donaldson. Now it's a full count.
Everything away. Got to figure with that motion and the movement that he gets, he tried one time inside with that fastball, but he stayed away from Donaldson this whole at bat.
Donaldson gets a breaking ball and lines it into center. Well, we've seen a couple of the sluggers go up the middle in the opposite way tonight. That's an encouraging sign. Encarnacion got a base hit to right. Now Donaldson gets a base hit to center.
Bautista had a 2-strike base hit to center field his first time up. So maybe the adjustments are starting to take hold for the Blue Jays. I mean, it's tough to keep walking back to that dugout, isn't it?
Oh, I did it for a long time.
You get tired of it after a while.
You do get tired of it, that's for sure.
You want to start doing something different.
Bautista takes a strike. Looked like he was guiding that ball back toward the middle as well. Had a good cut at him. It was away. Didn't look like he was trying to pull it. Rolls over on that one. That is a fair ball. Bautista can't believe it was called fair. And now Rivera is arguing the same thing. And Rivera saying that's not your call. D'Ambolino, third base umpire. That ball was caught in front of the third base bag. And that's the umpire at home's call before it gets to the bag.
He didn't make a call. The home plate umpire. He did after the third base umpire made the call. But let's take a look at it one more time. From that angle, it looks like it's right on the line.
Doesn't it?
Fair ball. Bautista is like, hey, how can you call that ball fair?
Rivera expressing his opinion of that call. Donaldson ends up at second on the out. Off the plate, 1-1, 2 outs. Ground ball. Crawford gets a tricky hop, stays with it, and throws to first. That ends the top half of the ninth. The Blue Jays leave a base runner. We'll go to the bottom of the ninth. Roberto Osuna with another save opportunity will come on to face Crawford, Blanco, and Brown when we come back to San Francisco. Blue Jays closer Roberto Osuna on for the save opportunity. Osuna has 6 saves so far. He's gotten off to a great start.
Perfect 6 for 6 in save opportunities. This is his 7th chance right here. 14 games, 14 innings for Roberto. He's only walked 3 batters. He was charged with the blown save in yesterday's game, but he came in an almost impossible situation. Second and third, nobody out. A couple other defensive changes for the Blue Jays.
Justin Smoke takes over at first for Edwin Encarnacion, and Ezequiel Carrera is in left field for Michael Sanders. So the Blue Jays with a 2-run lead. It's 3-1 in the ninth. It'll be Crawford, Blanco, and Trevor Brown for the Giants. Osuna has his family here in San Francisco, and earlier today he was out working with his twin brothers, his young brothers. They're 13 years old, and boy, they look athletic.
He was telling me that his brothers, one's a pitcher, one's a catcher. And he said they're only 13, but they throw in the low 80s, 83, 84 miles an hour. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see. Well, you and I got a chance to watch him throw off the mound today, and he's right. They look like big leaguers already at 13.
Yeah, the left-handed pitcher looks like a young Fernando Valenzuela.
He's got his family here. He's so proud of him.
Two balls and a strike to the leadoff man, Brandon Crawford. He drives this one to center and deep. Pilar is getting twisted around. He almost fell down, and that ball bounces over the wall. Kevin Pilar, we haven't seen that very often, where he got twisted and turned around, did a 360 and stumbled. And that took him out of the possibility of making a catch.
Yeah, he turned initially the wrong way. Off the bat of the left-hander Crawford. It's out into center field. Watch him. He is shading him a little bit towards left field. Now he turns to the left, his right. And by then it's too late. The ball was hit over the other way. And there's the stumble right here. It's just misjudged the ball. That's the second time tonight that the Giants have hit a double on a misplay by the outfield.
It's a big, spacious outfield. A lot of room to cover. For Crawford, that's his 7th double of the season, and just like that, the tying run is at the plate. Osuna pumps a strike in there. Changeup missed away, 1-1.
Well, nothing you can do as a manager, just press the right buttons and hope it all works out. Osuna's going to try and pick up his teammate. That was a fly ball to center field that misjudged. Now Osuna's got to come back and get these next 3 hitters.
Now, how many times has Kevin Pilar saved the pitcher?
Right.
Time after time, making terrific catches.
Time for some payback right here. Bail out his teammate.
2 balls and a strike, nobody out. Fly ball to left. Carrera backs up, makes the catch. On now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Carly Angro and Carolyn Cameron. Thank you very much. That's coming up right after this ball game. Roberto Osuna hopes it's in about 5 minutes. Trevor Brown has had a couple of hits tonight, starting for the regular Buster Posey, who got the night off. And Buster Posey has come out on deck swinging a bat. He'll bat for the pitcher. Alberta fans here supporting the Jays.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of Blue Jay fans.
And they got here early enough to watch batting practice today.
The Blue Jay fans travel very well. They come from all across the country, and they have been entertained tonight. 0-2. Strike 3 call. Great fastball from Osuna.
Pitching for San Francisco, number 28, Buster Posey.
The Giant fans welcome their catcher to the plate here, representing the tying run in the ninth with 2 outs. 288 average, 4 homers and 11 ribbies. He goes after the first pitch, fouls it straight back.
He had one thing on his mind right there, try and tie up this ball game with one swing. Outfield a little bit deeper now, because Posey represents the tying run. Josh Donaldson is on the line at third base, no doubles.
Posey was the National League batting champ in 2012. He also was the MVP that year in the National League.
And they won the World Series.
Hit .336. Breaking ball down. Posey coming into this season a career .310 hitter. Posey is signed through 2021 with an option for 22.
The face of the franchise, their best player.
Osuna's got a new toy that's been an improving pitch.
You know, Roberto's got so many ways to get you out now. He's not a guy who just comes out and just throws fastballs. He's got that little wrinkle slider that he can use right there when he is behind in the count and get him back into the count. He can throw a changeup. But now I think you got to go with your best pitch. You need one more strike. Go with your best.
Slider, well played by Donaldson. Ball game. Josh Donaldson takes a hit away from Buster Posey. Osuna picks up his 7th save as the Giants strand the leadoff double. Kevin Pillar had trouble with a fly ball to center, and you can bet he's appreciative of the effort by Osuna and by Donaldson.
And Roberto picks up his teammate. First of all, Donaldson anticipating that ball to his left, slides over right while the pitch was being thrown, takes away a hit and an RBI from Posey, and the Blue Jays can walk off with the first win in this series.
Blue Jays win the opener. Jay Happ will go to the mound against Matt Cain tomorrow night. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night from San Francisco. Now here's Sportsnet Central, Carly and Caroline.